At FusionAuth, we believe that teams shouldn't have to have one option when it comes to testing. They should be able to mock if they want, and they should also be able to do local testing if they want. And so we've come up with some indications that might help you understand if you've kind of been forced down the wrong route. Now we know, based on a recent survey we did of people that are building authentication themselves, we know that around 50% do prefer to test locally and 50% do prefer to use mocks. So again, like, people shouldn't be forced to go down a route that they're not comfortable with. They should be able to do what they prefer. But kind of coming back for a second, what is mocking? So mocking comes into play when you're testing software. So for example, if you're using Stripe and you want to test customer registration, you would perhaps mock a successful customer registration call or an API failure to be able to verify how your app does error handling. And in the case of integrating software like FusionAuth, you can either download and test with the real thing, or you can create a mock of FusionAuth, which would be set up to return certain behaviors. Now, one of the indications that you've kind of been forced to go toward the route of mocking is that you're using them for end-to-end tests instead of unit tests. So unit tests are what mocking was created for to begin with. You want them lower level, kind of like the situation I just described with the error handling. You want them super fast because you're trying to isolate particular behaviors. Now, contrast this on the end-to-end test, where this is less ideal for mocking because you would need to mock all of the things and all of the behaviors, and you might end up missing something. Now, another indication that you've kind of been forced to go down the route of mocking is that you're using them so extensively that the maintenance overhead of updating the test suite to kind of keep up with the changes is not really worth the effort. Now there are some indication, or there's, also an argument for this on the local testing side, right? Because on the local testing side, well, you have to start each test over from scratch. So you kind of have to be the gauge of what this balance looks like and what's ideal for you, but this is a good one to just keep in mind. And now kind of the last indication that we'll get into here is the idea of your change failure rate. So developers often miss opportunities to work with real APIs early in development due to the over-reliance on mocks, and this delays the discovery of integration issues and ultimately shifts the pain to later stages like QA or production. And one of the KPIs that engineering teams use to measure this kind of pain that shifts to later stages is the change failure rate. So if your change failure rate is too high, you really just need to test with the real thing instead, which means test locally. If you want to do mocking, great, but for complex business critical systems like authentication, you should never be forced into that route. And if you have been forced into this route, or if any of these indications resonate with you, it's a sign that perhaps you have been forced into that route.